Who do you think you are? I want to talk about identity of ADHD today. Realizing that I have ADHD, I finally began to understand myself. Looking back at my life, I couldn't understand why I behave in a certain ways, and I couldn't defend myself or have confidence in myself. But now, after 40 years, I can finally understand why. Having a better understanding of ADHD and its research traits, I see how the lack of understanding from both myself and others, as well as neglected exploitation from my parents, led me to hate and criticize myself and to live with a cowardly attitude. There are plenty of people in the world who don't have the brain structure of ADHD but have an undeveloped prefrontal lobe. The prefrontal lobe is highly polluted, so I think that some people get better and some people get worse depending on their environment, their nutrition, whether they loved or hated, whether they are struggling or accepted. However, while a healthy brain can sometimes improve under the right conditions of environment, nutrition, love, and acceptance, ADHD presents unique challenges in terms of focus, impulsivity, and difficulty with interaction due to its structural differences. During my time in the workforce, I often felt the difference between myself and my superiors or subordinates in terms of brain structures. So, is the identity of people with ADHD just ADHD? I don't think so. Then, they would all have the same symptoms and experiences, but the severity and intensity of ADHD vary, and so does the presentation depending on personal and environmental factors. Most people with ADHD suffer inwardly without realizing they have ADHD. I've thought about what the identity of someone with ADHD might be. What I've come up with is that the identity of someone with ADHD is that of an outsider. They are like a star in the sky, separate and distant, living a solitary life like a remote island. They want to be included and accepted, but can get close and are often misunderstood. I heard Kang Joo-eun, the wife of Korean actor Choi Min-soo, says on a broadcast, "You are the original outsider." The original outsider, your outsider, a solitary existence. Choi Min-soo also grew up moving from one home to another with inconsistent parenting from both his mother and father. His father apparently only visited twice a year. Did Choi Min-soo also experience abuse and neglect like me? In such an environment, did his unique, untamed nature and his tendency toward individuality become entrenched and manifested, while some aspects of him remain childish and others blossomed artistically? Does he also have ADHD? It seems like he has a similar temperament. As I watched that scene, I deeply empathized with the feeling of being an original outsider, a distant existence. I am also a highly gifted person who is often referred to as a zebra. The reason gifted individuals are called zebra is that they are the only animals that are not domesticated. I am not good at taking tasks because my thinking is too divergent and free-spirited to fit into any standard criteria. Nevertheless, I was able to attend good schools in this country despite unfavorable circumstances. It was fortunate for me. As an original outsider and a distant existence, I always questioned why so many people around me hated me and belittled me. And even more, I also despised and criticized myself. I hated myself for the way home and school and church and work condemned and evaluated me, accepting what they demand of me and judged me. There are various reasons for their behavior, but it was because I had not yet realized my true identity. If I had known that I was an original outsider and a unique being like an unbroken zebra, then would I be like others? No, I wouldn't. And I would have enjoyed the life of an outsider alone. It might be that it is impossible for someone like Choi Min-soo to work in a company, but I have worked for the company. Now, as a freelancer, I enjoy the better quality of life and income than what I earned in the corporate world. If I had known my identity better, I wouldn't have joined the company and I wouldn't have endured being belittled and humiliated by my family and society. By trying to fit into the standards set by my family and society, I lost myself and my outstanding qualities, and that made me feel foolish. If I had known that I was an original outsider and a unique being that couldn't be like others, no matter how hard I tried, and if I had a more supportive environment that I loved and encouraged me, I might have shone brightly and lived a special life without feeling like an incompetent fool, suppressing my social abilities and talents. With my outstanding abilities, I might have harvested more fruits earlier. In the movie Amadeus, Mozart's character is depicted as incredibly talented but impractical, unable to manage his finances and behaving in a childish and naive manner. When Salieri sees Mozart effortlessly composing beautiful music, he becomes furious and jealous, wishing that he too had been given such talent instead of having to work hard at it. I can relate to this in some ways, as I often have thoughts and ideas come easily to me and I am productive in many ways. However, my bosses have felt threatened and inferior, causing them to be angry with me and trying to push me out. Of course, my way of speaking also contributed to it, but I'm sorry I'm wired to call it like I see it. I'm sorry for telling you the truth. I'm sorry for exposing your incompetence. If Mozart had had parents who could teach him practical skills and discernment, he may not have had to face the same. Even geniuses like Elon Musk can suffer from the same problems in high school. He apparently didn't think about how his work might affect others and ended up getting bullied for a week. He too has been diagnosed with ADHD. Even the smartest people are often singled out and hated, and it's not right to gang up on them and make them feel like outcasts. I admire Spinoza. He accepted a life of hatred and misunderstanding in exchange for the freedom of thought. Raised and educated as an Lapi with the support of the Jewish community, in order to choose a personal life, he suffered the collective curse of the community and physical oppression of individuals, but he liberated himself from that and lived a life of poverty, working as a lens grinder during the day and researching at night until he died. He did not struggle with loneliness after rejecting the community. He embraced it calmly and made it a part of himself. He faced the fact that he was completely alone in a world full of misunderstandings, and he accepted that the only reliable conversation partner was himself in the mirror. His life was the birth of a lonely individual. His philosophy led future generations to derive the constitutional right to pursue the happiness of a unique individual, not as a family member or a member of the crowd. So you must acknowledge and accept your identity as a solitary existence. After being a gifted child who belonged to various organizations such as schools and churches, companies and families, only to be hurt and ridiculed, I now find peace as a solitary being, building my own life. Truly, I am happy now. I can earn more money with greater productivity and do things that others can do without having them taken away from me. In fact, I feel sorry for those who steal and exploit what comes so easily to me. And when I am alone, away from people, I feel happy and peaceful. Andrea Costolani said that the purpose of life is peace and comfort, but is it really? It was hard for me to allow myself such a good thing, but now I am trying to like Andrea Costolani or Descartes. As someone with ADHD, I strive to live freely and pursue what I am good at without being tied down. I embrace my identity as a unique individual. Just like Kwang-soo, Korean actor, isn't a fool, I am not one idol. I just haven't had to deal with people who only see one side of things. People look at me like I'm stupid for seeing things they can't see. I see what they don't, and I know what they don't. There are things that I do not have, but that doesn't make me a fool. In a book I read, a father with ADHD son said he wouldn't expect his child to grow up to be a polite young man or a successful businessman, but rather he wanted him to know that even if he was different from others, he could still live a beautiful life and do many things on his own. That made me envious of the son with such a father. The father told his son that he was a unique and original outsider and that he should find things to do on his own. It may sound harsh, but it was the only way to save his son. My parents always pushed me to do things they couldn't do themselves. Neither my dad, nor my stepmother, nor my brother. So I went out on the street looking for hard, tough jobs to earn money. But now I won't do that anymore. I will live and work alone and still able to earn money.